Hypertrophy mistake number one. And this time I actually mean the number one reason why I think so many people fail to achieve their gym goal of changing their physique. And this reason is people not understanding what the purpose of their workout is.
There's no denying purpose, because as we both know, without purpose, we would not exist.
People focus on the wrong things. They focus either on getting a pump or getting tired during the workout or getting sweaty, creating damage to the muscle, getting the muscle sore. Some people, they focus too much on the mind-muscle connection.
Too many mind.
Too many mind?
Other people, they just do too much volume. They do either too much volume or too many exercises per workout session, trying to hit the muscle from all possible angles, thinking that each tweak and twist of their with the execution of their exercises is going to matter all that much with the end result of their physique. When in reality, although these things, some of these things, they have their usefulness in the right context. None of them strike at the really strike at the core of what true muscle building is all about. What is then the purpose of our workout if the goal is to achieve muscle hypertrophy and to transform our physique? The purpose is very simple. You're just there to improve your performance over time, okay? Now, you're going to do this by placing the muscle under tension and executing the exercises with good technique to a reasonable range of motion. And especially as beginners and as intermediates, so you have to be lifting heavier and heavier weights in order to see hypertrophy. There are just no two ways about it. Strength equals size as beginners. And it's not just improving performance, okay? I want to be very clear about this. You have to exhaust the current capacity of the muscle to execute work with a given load. And you do this by working close to failure, okay? The reps have to slow down while you're executing the exercise. Okay, to recap, the purpose of you going to the gym is to consistently, every week, improve your performance over time. And again, I want to make emphasis, it's not just about improving performance over time, okay? If the goal was just to improve performance, then you would become a power lifter and you wouldn't care about building muscle. You would just do doubles and triples and yeah, you would just prime your nervous system to lifting heavier and heavier weights, and there you go. You're stronger and yeah, you wouldn't achieve any significant amount of hypertrophy. No. Important factor, improving your performance over time, but with two more important factors, okay? The first one is to work close or to muscular failure, okay? So you have to exhaust the muscle's current capacity to execute work with a given weight. And the other one is that this weight has to be high enough, okay? It has to be high enough to place the muscle under considerable tension, and the execution of the sets have to be under a reasonable range of motion, okay? Okay, so two other very important factors: getting the muscle close to failure and placing the muscle under a high enough tension and executing the exercises under a reasonable range of motion. And no, the purpose of the workout is not to create as much muscle damage as possible, you know, so that the muscle then repairs itself and comes back bigger. No, what's really happening after a successful hypertrophy workout is that a process called muscle protein synthesis gets stimulated, which then makes the muscle more sensitive to the uptake of amino acids from proteins. And from what I was able to gather, from the information that I was able to gather, it would actually be more productive if we would find a way to increase muscle protein synthesis while creating as little damage as possible. But it just so happens that as naturals, the only tool that we have to increase muscle protein synthesis, which is resistance training, has to have muscle damage occurring concurrently. And the only thing that we can do to minimize it is by performing during each training session the amount of work necessary to get this so-called spike in muscle protein synthesis, and then going to rest and recuperate with a proper diet and so on. And this can be achieved by implementing strategies that reduce our junk volume, meaning the extra volume that we do during a workout. That's really not adding anything extra to hypertrophy, and just creating muscle damage. So strategies like, for example, spreading your working sets across the training week for a single muscle instead of cramming them all into a single workout. Or in other words, swapping a body part split like the bro split that only trains each muscle once per week for example, a push-pull leg split, which trains each muscle 2 times per week. Or even an upper-lower split that can train a muscle up to 3 times per week, or even also a full body split that can train a muscle up to 6 times per week. I say 6 times because you always need 1 day of rest, so that 7th day would be a rest day. So meaningful hypertrophy, especially for beginners and intermediates, not about doing drop sets or doing special intensity techniques or any specific like form tweaks. Okay, no. The purpose here is to improve our performance over time. Okay, and this is done usually, and it's more easily done by increasing weights over time. And you have to do this performance increases while working close to muscular failure, and while placing the muscle under a reasonable range of motion, okay? Especially the stretched part under enough tension. And this tension has to be high enough to stimulate muscle hypertrophy, okay? So if you work with weights that are less than about 30 or 20% of your 1 repetition max, meaning the weight that you can lift for just 1 repetition, then the weights are just too light, okay? So that's why classes like pump style gym classes, they usually fail to get people to develop significant hypertrophy because, again, people choose very light weights, and they not only do they choose very light weights, they also consistently fail to take the muscle close to failure. So if you're doing pump classes, again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can accompany the class or not. Just pick a heavier weight. If you have to rest, do shorter bouts of shorter mini sets of 3, 4, 5, 6 repetitions, and then rest again. Just do it, or just reduce the weight after you reach muscular failure. But you have to reach muscular failure, and you have to have a load high enough to stimulate muscle hypertrophy. And you'll know this. You'll know if the weights that you're lifting are light enough. Because if you're doing a set of upwards of 50 to 60 reps, then you're definitely picking up weights that are too light. And even if you could stimulate any reasonable hypertrophy with those kinds of weights, it would just be very impractical because the amount of pain, the amount of muscle burn, the cardio, the amount of cardio that you have to have in order to keep going a set of 50 to 60 reps or more is just so much that you probably wouldn't even be able to get close enough to failure so that you could get those last 4, 5, 6 reps that really get the muscle to grow. So again, stick to the principles, know the principles, implement them, be consistent, rest, eat well, and there is no way you can't see muscle hypertrophy over time.